We got a chance to do one thing that every team in the country can't do. We got a chance to step up, man. We got a chance to step on the ledge, you know what I mean? And to me, I think it's a free fall. To be elite, you got to take a free fall. That means you can't be afraid to go to the edge. And coach said, jump. You said, how far, coach? Where you want me to go? Every guy got a chance to do that today. If you're elite, grab somebody today. Take him with you. There's no more average in this program. There's no more average in this program.
Man, oh man, a disappointing year last year for TCU as they fall to 5-7 off of a national championship game appearance the year before. So how are they going to be able to respond here in 2024? What kind of moves did Sonny Dykes do to really help this roster out? We're going to discuss that today and what they're going to do record-wise. But for anybody that's new around here, I'm Colin Bashing, the host to Bash's College Football Show. And you can find all my social medias down below if you want to get to know me a little bit better on those. And I would ask that you guys do comment down below what you think TCU is going to do this year. And also like the video because, it helps me out a ton. And if you like the video, like the video. That's just how I'm going to say it. It's going to help push the algorithm and continue getting me views. I appreciate all the support I've had lately. And lastly, going back to the comments, comment down below what team I should do next. We're doing TCU today because my buddy BJ, who's coming in for a wedding with my other buddy Cam, he's a Utah State fan. We'll get to Arizona State, his Power 4, I guess, team up next. But because we're not doing group 5, obviously I'm not going to do the Utah State Aggies for you, Cam, but I got you with Arizona State up next. But these guys coming in for my wedding, I really appreciate them. They didn't have to do that. They flew from different parts of the country, and I really appreciate all that they're doing to be a part of this big event in my life. And the least that you guys can do is, if you're watching this video, go check out the Loudmouth Sports Podcast. It's going to be linked down in the description as well. Now, we're done with that little conversation. I'm just going to tell you guys real quick, the next few days I'm not going to be as active because of all that stuff. I'll be back midweek next week. All right, talking about this roster and what they had lost from last year. Now, they were not a great roster, but they had a lot of talent, and specifically talent off of that national championship appearing team. Amani Bailey was one of the running backs there. Now, he was pretty much third in line of that team, but he definitely did play a good bit. And then you had Jared Wiley, their number 1 tight end from that team as well. Andrew Coker and Brandon Coleman are 2 offensive linemen that are gone, as well as Willis Patrick. Then you get the cornerback that was highly known, Josh Newton. He's going to be gone. Millard Bradford and Mark Perry are both also gone too. They ended up losing a couple of guys to the transfer portal. Chandler Morris was their starter at the beginning of the year. He's transferring over to North Texas. Cordell Russell, wide receiver, going off to Colorado. Dominic Williams, a defensive lineman, heading off to Oklahoma. And then you got Randon Fontenette going off to Vanderbilt, and Javion Wilcox going to Texas Tech. So some depth pieces there. I'm not saying any of them are overly impactful because I really don't think the transfers are insane losses for them. I think where they lose a lot of talent is through the graduation and NFL draft for sure. But you talk about this current roster, it does help that later in the year, Josh Hoover at quarterback got a whole lot more experience at that position. And then you get guys that have experience as well, and J.P. Richardson and Savion Williams both coming back at the wide receiver position. And then you bring in a couple of transfers, Eric McAllister coming in from Boise State, and the Notre Dame transfer, Braylon James, also coming in. And you add a whole lot of depth, too, to the running back room, even though you still got Trey Sanders and Cam Cook. These guys are going to be the stars carrying the rug. Dominique Johnson coming in from Arkansas definitely builds that depth for sure. Drake Dabney is also going to start at tight end, the transfer from Baylor. He's going to be a really good player for this offense, taking that role that was once held by Jared Wiley. On the offensive line, Bless Harris is the guy coming in from Penn State. Not sure if he's going to start, but this is a completely revamped offensive line that he's going to have a good chance of starting opposite of Mike Nichols, the tackle coming back. Then Carson Bruno is also in the middle at guard. He's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder, ready to play super duper tough and show that he's going to be able to be a solid offensive lineman for them. And then James Brockermeyer and Cade Bennett are 2 transfers coming in, interior offensive lineman, both of them. Brockermeyer coming in from Alabama, and then San Diego State's Cade Bennett. Now, on the other side of the ball, when you look at what they have coming back, it starts with the interior defensive lineman, Caleb Fox. He's a really solid player, going to be able to open up a little bit of pass rush for guys like Devian Neal. I believe I said that right. Or Devian Deal. I said Neal. I'm thinking Devin Neal from Kansas for whatever reason there. But yeah, Devian Deal, a guy that's going to be there and ready to play at the outside linebacker position. You also get Paul Oyewale, I think that's how you say his name. And then you get a linebacker in Caleb Elarms or coming in, another transfer player coming in from California. He's a really good player. Cooper McDonald was another one from San Diego State who's coming in for this squad. And then in the secondary, you bring in Travis Broughton coming in from Utah. I'm expecting him to be a starter. I think he was more of a depth piece at Utah. I think he's going to upgrade his playing time here at TCU. And then you get Abe Kamara back. Avery Helm is back. And finally, you have Bud Clark coming back at safety. So overall, like a good amount of defense coming back for that defense that Andy Avalos has right there. And then that offense that Kendall Briles is going to be running with Sonny Dykes is going to be a little bit of a mystery, and that's what we're going to be looking for. But Josh Hoover could experience decent depth at the running back position. I overall kind of am higher on TCU than I was before I did my research on them. So we're going to do this little prediction portion right now with the TCU Horned Frogs. Their over-under is 7 wins. I think they're going to start with a tough road victory on a Friday night, the opening Friday night against Stanford. I think this will be a back-and-forth game. I really like what Troy Taylor's got going on there. I do think Stanford is still very far away from being very competitive at the highest levels, especially in the new conference of the ACC, having to adjust with all that travel. Well, first game, even though they get it at home, I think TCU is a better team. I also think they're going to have no problem with LIU. And then though I think UCF is a really good team, early in the year, I can see there being a little bit of confusion in Gus Malzahn's system, and I'm going to go with TCU with the win. I know if I'm so high on these guys from UCF, then you would think that I would have them getting one of these two major early season wins against Florida and TCU, but that's just not the case. If you do watch my Florida video, you'll see that. At SMU, I think that you guys are going to own that rivalry game there on the road. Look, I don't think they're going to be strong enough up front to be able to go up and down the field on TCU, and I think that's going to be the recipe to beating TCU this year, is to be able to score on this defense that has some experience for sure. But I think Kansas is going to be able to score on that defense, and I think that they're going to go on the road to Lawrence, back-to-back road games. I think they lose this one. Just a very good team over in Lawrence, Kansas, a tough squad, a good secondary. I think that they're going to give TCU's offense fits, and I think that they're going to be able to score with Jalen Daniels touting that rock. Hopefully he stays healthy this year for one full year, because he really hasn't done that. Houston at home, I think they win the game, though I think this will be very tough. Willie Fritz is going to have a solid team, but I think he's probably gearing up for a strong year 2 more so than a strong year 1. And then you get to the next part where it gets really tough off of the bye. They go to Utah. I am higher on Utah than I was last year. I told you guys I didn't think Utah was going to be all that good because there were injury concerns and depth concerns. Everybody called me crazy. Everybody said you're not giving Utah credit. And I just said, look, they just don't have any depth, and they have early season injury with Cam Rising. I don't trust that he's going to be back. Guess what happened? Same thing. But then when I said, oh, I was right, Utah wasn't going to be that good, everybody was like, but they got banged up. Yeah, I kind of thought that getting banged up would be their Achilles heel last year. But they're going to be really good this year. They're a lot deeper this year, a lot less concerns about health. I'm going with Utah in that game. Texas Tech, this is a tough one again. Joey McGuire squad, they're going to be really, really talented. I don't even know if their record's going to show how good they're going to be, because they got games like this that are in a tricky spot. I'm taking TCU to win that one. At Baylor, again, back and forth with this. Another middle tier. I trust that Dave Aranda is a good enough coach that they're going to be a bit better this year. I could see this going the other way. So TCU fans, don't come at me and yelling at me. I've given you a couple of games that might go the other way in your direction. This is going to be one that I think could easily go the other way in your direction that I'm holding against you. So I'm going with the Baylor Bears at home in Waco. Then The final portion of the schedule, Oklahoma State right before the bye, back at home. I think that they're going to pull off the upset against Oklahoma State. And I think Oklahoma State's going to be a good team this year. And I think that this game is going to be really impactful. But I just see a collapse possible and at home in the Amon G. Carter Stadium with, those guys in the secondary, Avery Helm, Bud Clark, and the rest. I think that they're going to cause problems for Alan Bowman in that passing attack. I'm going with TCU in that ball game. Off of the bye, I think they lose to Arizona. Arizona, to me, is just the better team. And though I got ridiculed for my Arizona prediction, yeah, I did. I very much did. I'm not seeing Arizona drop this game. And then at Cincinnati, I think they also lose that one as well. Cincinnati's got a pretty solid roster. If they're going to not make a bowl game, that is all on Satterfield. My opinions about Cincinnati are in that video up there. You could just go look at it. I'm not the biggest Satterfield guy, but I'm the big, talent guy. So their over-under win total is 7, and I think Vegas knows what they're talking about. I'm giving them 7. That's what I'm going to do. No more, no less. And if I happen to be wrong one way or another, just let me know down in the comment section below. But I do think TCU is going to have a bit of a bounce back. I think they're going to have a little bit more stability when it comes to what the coaching staff wants and roster-wise what they want. So 7-5 for TCU, not super bad. We'll see if I turn out to be correct on them.